Hey.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome back, Misfits, and welcome back to a new episode. Today, as you know, we are continuing the testimony series. Revisited. Yes, here we are again. No more intro necessary. We're going into the first clip. Here we go.
You know what it's about.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was definitely putting my eyes in other places and other people. And I just started doing things that I shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to a very, just a place where, God just wasn't in it. God just wasn't in it. And then things happened.
There's things, people. There's things.
Yeah.
There's things.
Things happened. And a lot of disappointment.
Yeah.
And I started feeling shame and guilt.
Right.
For a lot of things that had happened.
So things happened.
Yes.
The word happened was popular in that clip.
Did I say happened?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yes.
I didn't hear it. No.
We've established that we're very repetitive in this episode. Yes.
It's funny because when I was thinking back at what I shared on this episode and I was like, how much did I say or how much did I share? One of the things I did remember, and at the time I really didn't want to share it, but a lot of what was going on during that time was one, I already mentioned, I kind of wasn't seeking God in the same way, right? I was kind of doing the things, but not necessarily having a true relationship with God. I kind of veered away from that. But another thing, and I mean, this might be common for just us women, I guess, but I was in my late 20s. So I had a lot of friends who were getting married, who were in relationships, who were moving on, it seemed like, and I felt stuck, right?
Yeah.
I was I'm not seeing that in my life. I don't have anybody in my life. I had this plan since I can't remember, and I'm sure most of us have it, where I was I'm going to graduate college and then work for a few years, and then I'm going to find my Prince Charming or whatever, and I'm going to get married and happily ever after.
Yeah, you're your soulmate.
Yeah,
if you haven't
my
heard
soulmate,
that episode, you
my
should go
other
back and
half,
listen to it.
you know?
Yeah, go listen to the Valentine's Day episode.
So at that time, everybody else around me seemed like they were doing it, and I was not, right? Even people who were younger than me, people who were my same age, everyone was getting married, getting engaged, being in relationships, and I'm over here what about me?
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely know that, I played into that, right? This comparison thing, this why not me? And because I wasn't focused on God necessarily, I was focused on the things, it was easy for me to be distracted, right?
Yeah.
And be I want that. I've always wanted that. God, why can't I have that? And so then that led me to making decisions that I should have never made.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if what I go into a little later, but I did go into a relationship that I shouldn't have. That was definitely outside of God, and made decisions that I really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted what my friends had, and because I couldn't get what they had, I settled for something that was counterfeit.
Yes. Yes.
So.
I've met many counterfeits.
Yes.
Yes.
And so that weighed really heavy, and I think at that time I just felt really bad for having let people down.
Yeah.
And because I felt I let people down, and I had this guilt, again, kind of going back to that, you feel you're doing these things to please God.
Right.
I in that moment I was I've displeased God. I've done something. Yeah. So when I talk about feeling shame and feeling sad, people found out about what was happening. I was exposed, if you will.
Yeah.
And so obviously with that, because people around me weren't necessarily there to help me. They were there to oh, look what you did. And also I was feeling that myself.
Right.
They necessarily did not have to tell me that, but because I knew I was in the wrong place, doing the wrong things, then I instantly felt this shame, because the way I was viewing God at the time was you have to do the right thing, you have to follow the rules. If not, then you're not I love you, or there's the brimstone and fire God, and then there's grace God.
Right.
And because I had sinned, I was going to get punished, type of thing. And so, of course, that weight of shame, instantly
and
comes over.
Doom.
And then everything around me didn't necessarily give me a way out or hope. And so I sat in it, right?
Yeah.
And so people around me were disappointed. I was disappointed in myself. And so it just felt very sad, very heavy.
Yeah. That's a hard place to be. Yeah. That sounds terrible.
It was.
And these people weren't helping you at all.
No.
They're like, hey, you look sad. Also, I know what you did.
And it was like twofold. It was like people who, not necessarily blaming me, but like making me feel shameful about it.
Right.
And then people who knew about it and like pretended like it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that also hurt, to be honest. Because I'm like, I need help. I need someone to talk
I'm drowning.
to. I just need someone to be a friend. And I wasn't feeling that. And I kind of appreciate the people a little bit more, the ones who like treated me normal than the ones who obviously didn't. But at the same time, I still felt a little bit like, I wish you would have just been like, hey, I'm with you, or I'm praying for you, or something.
Right.
To just help me see,
acknowledge it.
Yeah, just an acknowledgement, exactly.
Yeah.
I had people around me who knew what happened, who also kind of like, well, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And, that's not from God. And like,
right. So they were
like,
judging you instead of like trying to bring you back to God.
Yeah, we're disappointed. And like, basically I kind of, part of it, I stepped away from some of the responsibilities, and on other parts they told me like, you cannot do these things anymore.
Right.
So in the church I was at, because I had, sinned and things had been exposed, because I was in positions of leadership.
Yeah.
I was on the worship team, and I was involved in the treasury.
Did you hear that? Yadi can sing. North Rock, Yadi can sing.
Please don't make me audition. And a couple other things that I was involved in because I was in front of people. And I understand that, like if I'm ministering to other people and I have sin that I'm practicing, obviously I should not be practicing it as I'm trying to lead other people, if that makes sense. Like if I'm not working on it.
Yes.
That's totally different. And I wasn't working on it, right?
You're just suppressing.
I was living in sin. And so, so I wasn't like trying to get away, trying to be better, like praying about it, seeking God for help, any of these things. Yeah. So when it came out, I was just kind of stuck in it. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, again, this is where like good leadership comes in. Again, the people around me, yes, I would hope that they would reach out and tell me something or comfort me. But it also came from leadership, from up top. And the sad part that I felt was like they took me off. I knew why they took me off, but there was no counseling. There was no direction. There was a lot of talks around me, but not with me.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, you're just worried about
optics.
The optics, like how this looks on you, how this looks for our family, how this looks for the church. But like, I'm just sitting in it.
Yeah. Like literally no one cares about me as a person.
And at the time I wasn't even like, God help me out of this. I was still processing, and I wasn't necessarily repenting from it yet. I was just embarrassed
and shocked,
shocked and shamed.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't even processing it. So I didn't even have someone to be like, "Hey, this is your time to take a step, right? And like go back to God." Mm-hmm. I was just like, "I'm sad about it. I can't believe everything happened. I can't believe everyone's mad at me, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera."
Yeah.
And so it was a hard time.
Yeah. That's a lot to process though, especially when like everything everyone and all of this is happening around you, and you're just like processing the event, processing being exposed, processing being removed from these teams, and then now, oh, these aren't my real friends.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't care. Oh, what do I do? And you're like, what, 20
or like
something?
They're not
it's
trying
just
to
like,
understand me.
It's jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have a strong relationship with God. I wasn't like in a good prayer life and a good mental, spiritual time in my life. That when that happened, I just felt such like guilt, and I put a wall really like between me and God. And I knew that all the things that I had done before that kind of like made me look a good Christian, like I could still do those even though I was like feeling terrible inside.
On the inside,
Yeah, and I think that's the danger of like religion, right, versus a relationship. And so unfortunately, because I was just kind of not sure what to do, my mindset just went to like, what can I do to be perceived as being okay, instead of actually working through it. And sadly that happens to a lot of people. Like we don't necessarily want to be vulnerable and let others know what's going on with us. So even with those people who didn't know what was going on with me, I wasn't gonna let them know. Hey, you didn't find out? Great. then I can still put on, you know, my Christian face.
Yeah.
And you don't have to know what happened.
Yeah.
And I wasn't dealing with actually what I needed to deal with, right? Like actually facing my sin and coming back to God.
Right. Yeah, we have that in common.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to that in a second, but we have that in common.
And so I didn't want them to see me for this like shame and guilt anymore. I want them, like, I'm fine. Like, I'm going to be fine. And so I started doing all the things that I did before.
Yeah.
At least to the best that I could, at least at the moment I thought. And so slowly kind of like I kept going to church. I kept trying to be involved as much as I was able to. And just showing this kind of like, hey, I'm good. Like, I'm a good Christian.
Yeah, right.
But in my, I can say in private, in my life, I still wasn't praying. I still wasn't reading my Bible. I was still really, I still felt like this very heaviness still from what was going on. I didn't feel I had much support. And because the way things happened that a lot of people didn't know, I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about it.
Yeah, so there was a lot of me just kind of putting up a facade, right? Of just kind of going with the flow. And in some ways, maybe fake it till you make it kind of thing. But really, if you're not dealing with what's actually the problem, right?
Yeah.
Then things weren't going to change. And that's actually what was happening to me. Even though I felt terrible and I wish I could go to somebody, I didn't really have anyone to confide in that I felt comfortable, like, being honest. So it's like if you knew something about what happened, unless you approached me, like, I wasn't going to, because it was like my shame, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to tell you something. And then you're like,
and
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
Be like, oh man, like
you exposed yourself.
I don't know you that well.
But oh my gosh, that would have been terrible. But also, like, you didn't know how these people were gonna react.
Yeah.
Because at this point, everyone's kind of shunning you and just treating you like different and like we don't know you anymore.
And almost like tiptoeing around me for those that didn't know.
I don't want your shame to rub off on
like,
me.
Hey, and
shame
like,
is contagious.
Like on the other side of the church,
yourself.
like, do you want to shake my hand?
Right.
I'll just wait from here and be like, cool.
Yeah.
So I'll see you next time.
Yeah. I didn't want your sin to become contagious because it looks like it's contagious and I don't want it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Ridiculous.
Yeah. But at the time I was I felt very disappointed in myself. I knew I had disappointed others. And I just retreated, like, inwardly. And I didn't want to do all the things. I felt every time I tried to do something else, I just felt like this was hanging over me.
Right.
You know?
Or you felt like it was fake.
Or it was fake.
Yeah.
And I did feel like, well, who knows? Who doesn't know? Oh, I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't go over there and help because they're gonna be like, oh, that girl wants to help. You know, that I'm not saying that's what they were saying. I'm saying that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And especially because I didn't have that. Like, I wasn't seeking God. I was just inwardly taking this all in.
You were doing everything out of your own
and so
strength.
even though I sat in the church and I went up to pray, like, in my heart and in my mind, I was just like, God, I'm so sorry. Like, I screwed up. And everything was about guilt and shame and disappointment.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was worthy even to, like, come to God and be like, I'm sorry and I want to do better. I just felt like he doesn't want to hear that. Like, he's like, oh, I'm kind of done with you. We'll see if we can use you later, you know, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. We're about to see if we can use her later. I don't know.
I mean, I look back at that and it's just like, you really see how the enemies can take control of things like that in your life. Yeah. And I was worthy, right? I did have value.
She still is worthy.
But because I did not have that connection with God, I was not believing his word. Yeah. And I didn't have godly counsel around me. Yeah. I just felt very in the periphery, right? Yeah. I'm just kind of out here and I'm trying to do certain things. And I was just trying to deal with it out of my own strength. Yeah. Instead of, like, really seeking God. And I had strayed away enough to where I like couldn't remember really, like, what it meant to come back to God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
you were flowing the current and you flew away and then all
I
of a
flew
sudden
a little too far over.
Like, whoa, where is the shore?
Yeah. And I'm like, I knew, obviously I was still going to church, so I would hear the preachings and I would sing the songs, but they weren't hidden, you know? hitting because again, like I mentioned, like I did have a wall, and because of the shame, I created this wall. And I was like, even though I wanted to, every time I tried to climb that wall, I just felt like, I don't think I can. I don't think I can.
Yeah. And you were so isolated though. And we know that that's the recipe for disaster. And it wasn't like necessarily, it wasn't your doing in the sense of like, you didn't know how to talk to people about this, but also they weren't available for you to talk to either. Right. And then you didn't want to expose yourself either. Like, does he know? Does he know?
Yeah,
do you know?
Exactly.
You know what? I'm just going to keep it to myself.
So even though I had friends, they weren't like deep friends.
Yeah.
They weren't like people I could like have a conversation with and be open about a lot of things. Because we never got to that place, unfortunately. Not because they're bad people. I just don't think I ever built. Yeah, I never built enough of that communication and depth in the relationship for me to be like, I'm going through some stuff. Can I tell you? Right. And them not judge me or you know, be shocked or leave me or whatever.
Or just even like turn on the vulnerable switch.
Yeah.
Which we also have that in common, and I'll get to that in my part too.
And it's hard, right? It's hard to be vulnerable.
It is hard.
But it does help when others share, you know, what they're going through, their struggles, and so it helps you open up to that as well. And when you don't have that around, like you don't want to do it.
Yeah. Or you just don't know how to. Right?
Or you don't.
Never been around it. It's just
you might be just. One may be immature in your walk, but also just, you might not know because you've always kept relationships like superficial or up to a certain.
And that's what your family did, so that you know what happens in this family, we keep in this family, and it doesn't leave these walls, and no one ever talks about it, and it's just like everyone's like festering, and
then when it happens, everyone's like, oh, we don't know what to do with this.
So be vulnerable, people, with the right people.
With the right people.
Yes. Be safe.
Be safe and open.
Be safe with your heart.
Guard your heart, but also share your heart.
Yes, guard your heart. I listened to this analogy, and it was really good. So instead of having a wall, right, or we've talked about it before in one of our previous episodes, but it's basically like have a gate. So you can close the gate to the people that you don't want to let in your heart, but you can also open it to the people that you do want to let in your heart. That's good. I heard another one, and it was a drawbridge. Yeah,
I heard that one too.
Yes, Tim Ross. And it was like, you know, you open it to let people pass, like, I don't want to talk to you. But then you close it, and you're like, okay, you can cross that bridge.
And even when it opens, it might seem like a wall, but it's not, because it has the availability
to go back down.
And let someone in.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Are healthy. Okay, moving on.
And it's kind of one of those things like you want something to change, but you keep doing the same thing over and over. Like it's like you're a crazy person.
Definition of insanity.
And I was a crazy person because I kept thinking like I'm just gonna keep going to church, and eventually like something's gonna change. But I wasn't putting a lot of effort on my end to really like, well, how is God gonna change you if I'm not like opening up my heart to Him?
Yeah.
If I'm not at least putting some kind of, opening my Bible and being like, God, I want to read something that's going to help me.
I'm not doing anything, but Jesus changed me.
But I know, I'm coming on Sunday and I'm sitting down and I'm singing the song, so why don't you fix it?
Come on, man. Fix it.
Exactly. And that was I did that for a long time.
I'm not doing anything, but Jesus changed me.
And listen, God is powerful.
Yes.
But kind of like what we mentioned last time, He wants us to draw near, right?
Yes.
Like it's not that He can't, but He wants us to acknowledge and like take that first step.
We know He can do things single-handedly because He created the earth and everything in it by Himself, right? So He don't need us. But yes, He wants us to participate.
He does want us to participate.
Yes, we have our own responsibility in the relationship to do our part, so He can do His part.
Yes. And sadly, I was not. And some of it was just because I was still wallowing in it. Yeah. And part of it was because I was just not, my relationship with God wasn't strong. Yeah. So I didn't feel like I could, or I couldn't like figure out how, because I had just left it for so long that it was hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's hard going back.
Yeah.
And I had a moment when I was sitting in church one time, and I just like realized like I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want to feel this. Like I have to, like I need to check off these boxes. I said, God, I need a real relationship with you. I need to let this go, like truly let it go and seek you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though I wasn't, like I mentioned, like I wasn't necessarily having a personal relationship or seeking God, wanting Him to like change me or help me, heal me, all that stuff, I was still going to church. And I do think in that way God was honoring that. and gave me a little nudge, right? Like, you need to change, and you do need to come back to me. So I'm very grateful for that, because even though I was maybe reluctant or not feeling it, if you will, because I had that habit, I was still going, and he worked through that,
right?
You know, even in the religious mindset or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, which we're so grateful for, right? Like even those tiny steps that you're doing out of just routine, and my mom wants to go or whatever, and he's still like, okay, I'm gonna plant this seed here.
I'm here.
So exactly. I'm gonna do what I do. It's great.
Saw the opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? We're gonna move. We're gonna go somewhere else. And I did visit a couple churches, but a friend had actually tagged North Rock in one, like on Facebook or something, and something drew me to it. I looked kind of like you. I went online and kind of looked at their stuff.
Let's make sure they don't have Kool-Aid.
And exactly. I was like, I just needed them to be like, I need them to say, to be all about Jesus kind of thing. Like, I need them to be like legit. I don't want to see a bunch of like religious kind of stuff on there. I want them to be all about God. Yeah. Like, you know. And North Rock was. And so I remember walking in and just being like, this is where I want to be. Like, this is my opportunity to like make a change. Yeah. And to be intentional now.
Yeah, so I do know that that's when I started to be more obedient. I definitely was not there yet. I was still carrying a lot with me. It took me a while being at North Rock to finally kind of get through that, but I do feel that when God nudged me, I was like, okay, God. And thankfully, like he does, he put a lot of things around and lined things up to where it allowed me to leave the church where I was at, and give me an opportunity to be like, okay, I need to find a new home, and one where I can focus on you. And so he allowed that. And even though, like I said, I visited a few places, but God, showed me where I needed to be.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And we've said this before, but it's okay to visit churches and until you find the right one. Please don't feel like you go to the first one and you're like, well, this has to be it. Yeah. Because I met 7 people and they're expecting me back. No.
I said, see you next week, and now I got to see them next week.
Keep trying until God puts it on your heart that you go and you're like, this feels like home. And it can be for a season. It can be forever. It doesn't matter. It's just like, that's where you need to be planted in that moment.
God will show you once you start being obedient.
The Misfits give you permission to church hop until you find the right one. Yes. But then get planted, okay?
Yeah.
So that's how she ended up at North Rock. North Rock is the church that we go to.
Yes.
Now that she mentioned that. Like I said before, just so it makes sense, there's multiple campuses, and Midtown is the campus that we attend. That's why the podcast is called Midtown Misfits.
We also kind of live in Midtown, so we just felt it was
meant to be.
We're never gonna change.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So many things have changed since we recorded this episode, of course. The podcast is called Midtown Misfits because we went to the campus that was in Midtown.
Yes.
It's crazy because since we met originally, the campus has actually moved to 3 different locations.
Right.
And since we started the podcast, it has moved twice, right? So it's moved 3 total, but twice with us doing this podcast, and now we're at a different location. So that's like super interesting to think about. And like I said, that's how she ended up at North Rock. And it's crazy to say this because I haven't, I'm just telling the people that I know like in real life, but you and I are friends too. I don't go to North Rock anymore. I go to CBC. And so it's so interesting that when we first recorded this, that was the reality. And now we're looking back and it's like, it's a different reality. But that's also interesting, and maybe one day I'll record an episode and I'll tell you how God led me to CBC, because that was a whole God thing too. Still walking in it, don't know what I'm doing, but it's very interesting and very exciting. But that's crazy. Wow. Look at God. Because I was in and out, right? After I was in that broken place when my husband and I had broken up, I was in the house by myself. I didn't know what to do. I started reaching out to God, and he started getting closer to me, like I said, and I started developing a relationship, and I started feeling great, right? At this point, I also went to North Rock and found the church, and I loved it. It was weird at first, right? Because it's a non-denominational church. For those that you don't know, I haven't mentioned it, but it's non-denominational. And because I come from a Hispanic Presbyterian background, it's completely different, right?
Yeah.
You wear your Sunday best to our churches. You sing from the little hymnal book with songs that you have no idea they were written like ages ago. Everyone is monotone. Like there's no, like the worship is just different, right? It's very traditional and very religious. Yeah, that checks out. It was very jarring for me to go to North Rock the first time. I really did enjoy it. And of course, I ended up actually staying there and being planted there for a while. But yeah, it was very jarring. The worship threw me off. I'm just like, why are these people singing rock songs in church? And why are the people wearing
the lights
jeans?
going on and off?
She asked me if I wanted coffee and I could take it into the auditorium, and I was like, I feel uncomfortable. My grandma would be so upset. So it was like I had, although I had no relationship with God, right? But everything that I was involved in was very traditional and very religious.
Yeah, what you did know was very different to what you were stepping into.
Exactly. And mind you, like I've said before, I came from Puerto Rico to the United States. So this is my first church that I've ever set foot on in the United States. So that's a huge leap as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, you go from a Spanish-speaking church to an English-speaking church, and then it's just non-denominational, which in itself is a denomination because it's just non-denominational. It's so interesting, and it's just like, what's happening? So it was all a bit much for me, but she enjoyed it, and she ended up getting planted there. Yes. I started attending church regularly, and during that time, because I was being very intentional, I was meeting new people and I was doing what I was supposed to do. And because God is so good, he healed me. He really did. He healed me from being alone, from the depression, from just the sadness and the brokenness. And at some point, awesome. I returned to myself, right?
Yeah. You felt like yourself
again. I felt like myself. And I was like, oh, I can do this. Like, I will be okay. I left that clip in there solely to say that I was not healed.
But you felt
healed? I felt better. And I felt like, again, I felt more like myself. I felt like there was a lot of the pain and the hurt that I had let go of. And I'd never been through an experience like this before, this much heartbreak, this much sadness. And so when I had been sad and for so long, that when I felt better for like X amount of time, I was like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I started meeting people. I started like, I was distracted as well because I started joining these small groups and like doing all sorts of stuff. And so my mind is somewhere else. It's not focused on what had happened, my decisions and all these other things. So I thought that I was fine.
You were good.
I thought that I was good.
Because now you were just staying busy with good things.
Yeah, so I really did think I was good. I'm here to tell you that she wasn't, but we'll get to that.
And also healing is a process.
Yes.
So that was like
it's
level
continual.
1.
Exactly. But I thought that I just want you to know that I thought that I was done.
At the moment, you felt like, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done. Close the book. Let's go.
Let's just go live life.
No, the narrator, she was not done. But then ask me what I did.
What did you do?
So he healed me, and then I said, okay, thank you, Jesus, goodbye. And I peaced out.
You're like, I'm good now.
I said, I'm good now. You healed me. I don't need this anymore, right? And
I got enough.
I had a really good excuse. There was a whole pandemonium going on because COVID
the panini
hit.
Happened?
The panini happened.
Oh, no.
COVID hit. And that was my excuse. I was like, oh, well, I can't go to church right now because it's closed, right? And I was a part of a small group, and I was a part of a small group, and I was doing a course as well. And everything went online. But my goal in doing all of these things was to build community, and it was to meet people. And because of the panini, I wasn't able to anymore. And so I used that as an excuse. I'm like, well, if I'm there to meet people and now everything's online, like I'm not meeting people, now I'm just going through the motions now, so I'm just going to stop doing this. So I stopped. Watching online services. I stopped reading my Bible. She has a lot of conviction in her voice, and I just want you to know that at the time when I was going through this, I believed everything that I said.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a pandemonium. I'm literally here to meet community. I can't meet community because no one's meeting. Pandemic. And I did. I felt like I was healed, which right now it just seems preposterous.
The fact that you so quickly decided not to
that
stay connected
shows
you how healed she was.
That shows you my foundation. There was a lot of sand under my feet, and the house did not stand.
Yeah. I didn't have a good foundation yet.
I literally was like, yep, I feel better. All right, peace.
I don't need anybody. Church, nothing, because I'm healed.
Thank you.
Obviously, I'm fine now.
And this is what I need God for: healing. You healed me.
He gave it to me. Thanks. I'll be back if I need anything else.
Yeah, thank you. This is
24/7.
ATM
machine,
exactly.
Hello,
I gotta go.
Machine. You gave me this. What I needed. So much. A little chip bag of healing. Thank you.
I did do that. Yes, I did do that. now as a Christian that's been walking with God for much longer, I can't conceive ever turning my back on God and being like, oh, you did this for me, I'm gonna go. But at that time, with everything that I had going on, the person that I was, the mentality that I had, and all of the damage that I had done to myself, I was like, I'm good. He healed me. This is cool. Had no relationship other than like, yo, I called on you. You did it. Well, that was nice. I'm gonna go.
Thanks. I'm gonna be on my way.
I have a long drive home. I'm gonna go.
But like, we'll see each other around, no?
Right? I go to church on Sunday sometimes still.
Yeah.
Right?
Whenever this thing lifts, I might come visit you again.
Yeah.
Why not? I'll think about it.
I'm so sorry.
You be well.
I'm so sorry. I don't think I've repented for that. I should. I'm so sorry. Oh. But at that point, because I was withdrawn from the community, because I lived alone, because because there was a whole pandemic going on,
right.
I didn't know what to do. So I started feeling bored. I started feeling disconnected again.
Right.
And ask me what I did.
What did you do?
I got on dating apps.
Oh, hey, shout out to all the single people.
Shout out to no, don't get on dating apps. Don't do it. So
slowly takes out phone and deletes.
Listen, homie, I got on the dating apps.
I'm terrified of dating apps.
Yeah, no, I got on the dating apps because I was like, how am I supposed to meet people if I'm not like, how am I supposed to meet people?
Yeah,
if you don't meet, I don't go out, I don't do things. How am I supposed to meet people?
So I don't need to go to church and watch church online, but
I'm
gonna get a dating app.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I started going on dating apps. Long story short, started dating people I didn't need to be dating. And then don't get me wrong, it wasn't it was just something I didn't need to be doing at that time.
Yeah.
If you are on dating apps right now, I'm not judging you because, hey, been there, done that. But it just,
but you realize it wasn't serving you
for me
at the
personally, it wasn't, and obviously I only understand that now, but it wasn't something that I was supposed to be doing because even though I felt like I was healed, I wasn't fully healed. There it is.
There's the acknowledgement.
Even though she thought she was healed, she was not fully healed. Yes, we were just talking about it while this clip was going, and I'm like, yeah, it's that boredom that'll get you. It's really that boredom. But yeah, that's what I did. I said, thank you, Lord, you healed me, I'm out. And then had no friends, knew no one, right? Was separated from my ex-husband, had 2 co-workers at a job that were much older than me, and we didn't have a relationship at that point. So I didn't know what else to do. I'm like, what do I do? As a woman, I want to be in a relationship, right? I want to be married. I want to have children and all these things. And so when you don't have a relationship with God, you think you have to do that all by yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. I set out to find a husband.
She said, I need community and I'm going to do it with a husband.
Yes, I'm going to find him by myself.
Who needs church friends when I can go on dating apps?
Who needs church friends when you can find a man? And what happened was that, just so you understand a little bit more where this Fran was coming from, this Fran thought that in her previous marriage that she had made a mistake in choosing. And so this was my personal do-over of like, I'm going to choose correctly now. I'm going to choose right. I'm going to date them. I'm going to know them. I'm going to give it enough time to where I can see all of these red flags. Yeah. Like, I thought I was doing the right thing.
I'm more aware.
Yeah, I'm more aware. Now I know what I want and what I don't want. Like, I have this experience under my belt. It's been X amount of time. I'm going to choose correctly now. And so that's what I did. I set out on my own experiment to find my husband.
With your own knowledge and strength.
Yes. My own knowledge, my own strength, my own wisdom.
Yes.
Okay?
Because we're so
at 29 years old, I was like, I know it all. Yeah. I've watched 3 sermons on dating, and I've read 1 book. And I will find him.
And I know I don't want what I did before. And that's enough.
And that's all I need. And I set out to find a man. Yeah, didn't end well. But we'll get to that. It's been my experience that whenever we're in a situation like a whole divorce of a 6-year marriage, you need to withdraw, right? You need to withdraw from people, from influences, or you need to just kind of work on yourself and go inward and do the things that can heal you from whatever happened, you know, and there's certain things that they don't emotionally, that they don't come out right away.
Yeah,
it just takes time. So because I thought that I was good, you know, I started getting involved with other people, and at the same time, I hadn't fully healed what happened in my marriage. And so I started developing other issues, right? I started developing, it started hurting me in a different way, right? Because I was trying to, I was just trying not to be alone. You know what I mean? Yes, she was trying not to be alone. That's what she was trying to do. She didn't want to be alone. And she wanted to make, quote unquote, the right choice. And she wasn't working on her healing. Number one, I don't think she knew how. And she didn't have people around her that she could talk to or like bounce ideas off of and stuff like that. And so really just finding somebody to hang out with and date seemed like the right thing.
It seemed like,
I don't know,
like the next step in your life.
Yeah.
So why not?
Exactly.
There's nothing else going on because everything was shut down. So.
Exactly. Which is crazy because, I mean, there was a whole pandemic going on. Now, mind you, I feel like I did the dating apps throughout the pandemic, but I didn't actually go meet anyone because, as we know, when it first hit, like, everything was closed.
Yeah.
This was, like, later on during the pandemic. Yeah. For anyone that's, like, nitpicky about the details.
I want to know more exact.
Yeah. It was later on.
It wasn't right after.
Exactly. I didn't put anyone in danger either, I don't think. So
that's what we want to clear up.
Exactly. Let the CDC know. All right. It occurred to me when I was going through my separation and then through my divorce that for the social media thing, you know, for some reason, I would see people, they would get divorced. And then all of a couple months later, they had a boyfriend, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what's gonna happen to me too.
That's normal.
Right, that's normal. That's
if they're doing it, it's fine if I do it.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen to me too. So, spoiler, not normal for me specifically.
Not for everybody.
And it just, it's not for everybody. It didn't work for me because, again, I wasn't 100% healed. So. Okay, the reason it didn't work for me was not because I wasn't 100% healed. The reason it didn't work for me was because that's not what I needed to be doing anyway. So it wasn't because I was healed. But yeah, I was putting a lot of focus on looking at people on Instagram and stuff like that. And I had coworkers previously in the military and stuff like that, and they were divorced, and then they were dating people, or they were remarried.
Wait, so you were comparing yourself?
I was.
That's so weird.
I was.
So weird that we would both do that.
Yes.
Like, no one else does that, I don't think.
No, just you and me.
You know, I don't think I've ever heard that.
I was comparing.
I'm shocked.
I was comparing my whole life because I was like, well, they got divorced and then they started dating someone, and they married someone that they met on a dating app. I'm like, this is so plausible for me.
Yeah.
God had a different plan.
I can be there.
I could totally do it. It's going to work out just like that. And so I think I had put a lot of kind of weight on the process of
expectation
meeting someone during, especially because I was new, right? I had been in Texas for 6 months. I don't know anyone. And so I'm like, oh, this is just the way that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it didn't. But anyway, that was my thought process back then. Yeah, I was watching a lot of other people instead of minding my own business and focusing on God. So I started dating someone. It was going really well. And I was very happy at that point in time. And again, I was withdrawing from God, still identified as a Christian. He was a Christian. He is a Christian. And I thought this was it. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to work.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to church. I got kind of back into watching sermons online, but I wasn't really praying, wasn't really opening my Bible. That wasn't a thing. And lo and behold, drum roll, please.
Oh, okay.
She got hurt again. Hey! And let me tell you, let me get really close to this microphone right now. Let me tell you.
Oh, we're getting serious.
That last one, it hurt. Oh. It hurt so bad, right? It hurt very, very badly. And a homie was broken once again. And because she didn't heal, she being me, because she didn't heal from the relationship in the first place, from the divorce.
Now was
another layer of pain, and it just made everything worse. Yes, it made everything worse. Future Fran here to tell you, it made everything worse. And I said it in that episode where I was like, yeah, I was really happy and blah, blah, blah. I thought that I was happy. I wasn't. There was so many things that I look back on now, and it was very codependent. It was a very unhealthy relationship. There was a lot of manipulation and control and fear of losing each other. And so we're trying to hold on for dear life, and you're doing things out of your own strength. So he's not upset with you, or so I'm not upset. It was very unhealthy. And it seemed like the right thing at the time. Like we were talking about counterfeits. It was very much a counterfeit. Yes. And it was very, very toxic, very unhealthy. Yeah, that's what it was. However, I'll speak to past Fran. Past Fran thought she was happy. And so when he decided to end things with me, I was distraught because I thought, like, we were talking about moving in together and, not being married or anything, but we were talking about moving in together. Yeah, like having kids, all of these things. And I was like, and then he ended things with me and I was distraught. And mind you, this was like a dating relationship that lasted 2 months. But I was so invested,
yeah,
right?
I was gonna say, you really
I was emotionally invested. I thought this was it. We were sleeping together, so there was a soul tie. Like, all of these emotional things are happening. And so I was literally so broken at that point that thank God for that relationship, because that relationship hurt so bad that it just thrust me towards God, and I literally have never turned back. So it was quite the blessing in disguise that God really did use it for my good. But at the time, that hurt.
Yeah.
Man. My goodness.
And sometimes we let those things happen, right? Because we keep being stubborn about God's calling. Like, he's calling us, he shows us, we put in that effort, and then he draws near. And, to your point, it's like, oh, we start feeling good. Yeah. And we're like, hey, we're good. I'm going to kind of do my own thing. And how quickly we forget, like, this is a process. Yeah. We're not done yet. And there's so much more.
Exactly.
But we settle, right? We settle with, like, feeling a little better instead of, like, actually pursuing God and knowing that he has just so much more.
And being whole, right? Yeah. But when you don't know what wholeness feels like, settling is okay.
Yeah. And it reminds me of the story of the 10 lepers, right? When they go to Jesus, like, can you heal us? And he does heal them. They'll, okay, go present yourself to the priest. Yeah. And as they're walking away, they see that they're healed, and only one of them comes back. And he's the one who's made whole. Yeah. So the rest were healed, but if you know leprosy, I don't know too much about it, but I know it leaves a lot of scarring and things on your body. They were healed. They still had all the scars and everything. The person who came back was made whole. That means like they were made complete. They no longer had all these, scars and different things. And it's just so beautiful that you don't know that one more step, what it does and how much God can do for you, and that we settle for just the healed.
We settle for bare minimum.
Scab,
like I have a limp, but I can use this cane and I'll be fine.
Yeah, you gave me a cane, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, but I
have so much more for you. Yeah. Yadi with the word. Look at that. But what did I do? Ask me what I did.
What did you do?
I said, Jesus. Jesus, help me. Jesus, take the wheel, take the car. I don't know what you got to do, but listen, help me, because I don't know what I need to do. So breaking up from my husband originally, it kind of in a bad way, obviously, because it was my marriage broke up, but it taught me that when something goes wrong, I can just turn to God. That's what it taught me. Yeah. And of course I walked away from God, right? He just healed me and I just kind of pieced out. But when this happened, I went back to God because I knew what to do. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is what I can't do anything else. No one can help you. When you're specifically talking about me and my story, I didn't feel like anyone could help me. No one can heal you like God can heal you. Yeah. So I cried out to my God, and my God said, hey, I'm back. Hey. I want to clarify. He didn't say I'm back because he never left.
I was going to say.
I said, hey, I'm back. And he was like, I know. I've been here the whole time. So, and I want to clarify that everything that I said was true. There's not really much I need to add to that. What I do want to say is that in this relationship, this like 2-month relationship situation, I was there was moments where I was like deep in it, and then there was moments towards the end that God was like snapping me out of it. And he was working, and there was like certain moments that I vividly remember that it was like, I remember I was going to go over to his house one time, and I felt this unction of like, don't do it. And I'm like, what is that? You know what I mean? And it was weird till this. I don't remember what I asked God, because I was like, I asked him to confirm it, and I was like, okay, well, if you don't want me to go, like, have him not answer the phone right now when I call, or something like that, to the point where whatever I asked, it happened, and I was like, oh, I can't go. And it freaked me out, because I was like, I don't know what this is. And like, God is speaking to me, and he's making stuff like happen. Especially when you start a relationship with God and with Jesus in the beginning, Holy Spirit, the whole Trinity. You start in the beginning, and everything seems to happen quicker, right? Because he's establishing that relationship with you. So the downloads are quicker, the thoughts are quicker, the Holy Spirit is like super activated, and he's like giving you all these nudges, and you don't really know what it is. but it was happening where he was like giving me these things and like giving me prompts and stuff where I was like, well, I don't think I should do that. Oh, I don't think I should call him. I don't think I should this. I don't think I should that. So he was working even when I was like actively living in sin. But I think he knows my heart. He knows where I was going to end up anyway. And so he was just trying to fish me back and be like, girl, it's just going to hurt worse. Just come back.
It's like flashes of God. Like, exactly. I'm here. I need you to like draw to me and stop going that way.
Yeah, which is so amazing because he's so faithful even when we're not. And it's a beautiful thing. And I'm so grateful to be able to look back in that situation. And even when I had 1 foot in and 1 foot out, he was still there like, don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it. I'm still here. Don't do it. I'm watching you. I got it. I got your back. Just turn this way. So yeah, it's great. That led to me returning to church, right? I returned to North Rock and everybody was waiting for me with open arms, which was like, amazing. Hey, like I never left. It was amazing. It was beautiful. And I'm so grateful for everybody in our church and for our entire congregation, all of our friends that are listening to this right now. We love you so much. Facts. Everybody received me with open arms. It was great. No one, and Jillian, I think, was the one that knew the most about my story and continues to know a lot about my story, but she never brought it up. She wasn't like, why did you disappear? What happened? Like, whatever. She was just like, hey, what's up? Let's get you the servant.
Welcome back.
Yeah, exactly. It was awesome. It was awesome. And yeah, whoever of our friends is still listening to this, we still love you. Thank you for supporting us continuously throughout for this whole like 2 years or whatever. And yeah, they continue to be awesome. We got awesome friends. Yeah. I told myself, because I was so hurt, I made the conscious decision to stop doing life my way and to start doing life God's way. Because life for me doesn't work my way. I don't know how it ends up because she didn't finish her thought, but I decided at that point, at that heartbreak point, that was my checkpoint. I decided to start living life God's way, and I have never looked back, and I have never been sorry. And she was preaching. Yeah, she was preaching. She did it. She was so hurt that she was like, I'm not doing this no more. Even if I have to be alone for the rest of my life, I don't know what God has in store for me, but it is better than this heartbreak,
what I've been
this
going
like through. Months or like a year of heartbreak that I have created for myself. Yeah. So, yep, she turned around, she repented, which just means to turn, and she walked the other way and she never looked back. Yes.
It reminds me of a hymn. It goes, I have decided to follow Jesus.
Yes.
No turning back. No turning back. That was Fran. She decided to follow Jesus.
Yes. We are not doing it Fran's way. Fran, listen, Fran doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah, Yadi doesn't either. So.
No, we don't know what we're doing. So Jesus is taking the wheel. Yep, still checks out.
Yeah.
We still don't know what we're doing.
We cannot stand on our own understanding and our own wisdom.
No.
And our own strength. Which is why it goes bad when we do.
Yes.
So it's all God.
Yeah. Honestly. And we actually had a comment on our Instagram today. And we had posted a reel or something, and this person, I think it was a man, not sure, but they commented and they're like, it was a negative comment about the reel and about how he was like, you need to own your own life. And I was the one that was on the reel. And I responded to the comment. I was like, actually, I can't do that. I said, I can't be trusted, LOL. We serve God and only him. Yeah. And he is the owner of our lives.
I have tried to take the reins,
yes.
And it did not go well.
It did not go well.
So I have understood.
Yes. If you want to send me your email, I'll send you the testimony episode, and you can see that it did not go well.
all the times, that was me. Does that sound like it was a good time? It was not a good time.
No, maybe if you listened to the testimony, he would agree with me that
had he known,
she can't do that.
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah, no, he definitely hadn't heard it.
She's bad at that. Yeah.
She tried a lot and it did not work. The other girl either. I don't know what was going on with them.
For me, what that looks like, and I just want to tell you what my life looks like, and then we'll circle to Yadi and what her life looks like now. But it looks like going to church every weekend. God willing, you can make it to church. You go to church, and if you can't make it to church, you watch a service online.
2021,
right?
Watch it online.
The world is a little bit open now, so we can do that. So I'm going back to church. I'm a member of this church. I'm an active member of this church. Not only do I attend church, I serve at the church as well. We'll talk about serving in another podcast, but serving is important because we're here to love God and to serve people. That's literally our purpose, right?
We're his hands and feet,
as people of God. So I attend church, I serve at church, I read my Bible. I don't read my Bible just to read my Bible. I read my Bible to get closer to Jesus because God talks to you through his word. So I read it intentionally. I read it to understand it. I read it to carry it with me and for it to feed my soul. I'm very careful about what I watch and what I listen to.
Yeah,
actively, I make sure that I'm careful to what I watch and what I listen to, right? I don't watch the TV shows or the movies and stuff that I did before. And that's not to say that you can't watch TV or listen to music. You just have to be careful. Yes. All checks out. Still go to church. I was serving actively at North Rock. Now I've moved churches and it's very new, so I'm figuring that out, you know. And
that'll come
yes, it'll come, and we're involved and we're doing things and the events, and it's great. But we're still figuring that out. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not serving there yet. I've been there twice, so
it's still new.
Yeah, it's still so fresh. It has a new car smell. So, but yeah, still reading the Bible actively. Right. I love that thing. And still being very careful about what I watch and what I listen to. We guard our eyes and our ears. And
we did an episode about that.
We did an episode about that. You can circle back to that. Don't know what the episode is called.
No.
Why Modesty?
Yes.
It's called Why Modesty. So you can go back and listen to that. We can link it in the show notes. But yeah, that all checks out. We still do the things. Yeah, we still do that. We still enjoy doing that.
What helps us stay, on our path.
Yeah.
Just stay close to God.
Yeah. To continue to grow the relationship and to be able to do this podcast. Like, it's huge. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I did the thing. I came to a few services and they do that thing at the end. If y'all don't know, if you've ever been to North Rock, where they're like, who's ready to give their life to Christ.
Right.
Or it's been, a long time since you have and you're ready to rededicate your life. And I remember one of those days my hand just went up and I was like, yes.
I get me goosebumps. Yes, sir.
Because anyone else that maybe would have seen me raise my hand and be like, girl, what are you talking about? You've been in church this whole time.
Right.
Yes, I was, but my heart wasn't in it.
Yes.
My heart was not in it. And I had kind of just decided like that was fine until I felt it was not. And that was all God.
Yeah, that was fine until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't. And then the Holy Spirit convicts you and it's like, girl. No, but that's still true. It was still a moment of like a step of faith, really, because I still had, a path to go, still healing, still letting go of the shame. I was still working through that, but I definitely felt like you need to make it public, sort of. Like obviously people have their heads bowed, but I needed to make like a gesture, if you will, and be like, no, you need to start making changes.
Because that's all it is. Raising your hand is just a step of faith, right?
Yeah. So that's how I felt. Like it was like, you've been sitting here, you've been listening to the word, it's touching your heart, it's like convicting you, so take a step. Like I know it's hard, I know it's heavy, you're still carrying it, it's gonna be a while till you let it go, that kind of thing, but you need to take a step. And that was one of the steps. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Took a step, and that you did.
But it was just such a genuine, it's just all about community, and it's about getting connected. And when people love God, they love people.
Yes.
And so I felt that right away.
Amen. Yes.
And so I was like, of course I'm here. Like this, I'm here for this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We were both very excited in that clip. It was a moment.
We're like, yes, community, which we were both looking for in different ways.
Yes.
And we were lacking. So I think that really hit us, right? We're like, yes, we need people who want to talk to us and want to come up to us and actually invite us to their events or whatever that is, and not just be a hi, bye on Sundays and you barely know my name.
Yeah, because it's all about relationships, and relationships is what keeps you going back to that church. Is you're hanging out with your friends when you go. This is your church family and all this other stuff, and it really does make you feel connected. And people ask how you were, and they were praying for you, and how did your trip go, and all this stuff. And it's it's so important. It's so important, and it makes the experience so much better.
Right.
Yeah.
Similar to you, for me, it's intentionality now.
Yes.
And so, coming to church on Sundays, serving, being involved, don't feel like it has to be this big thing where you have to do something every day, but be intentional about what you do.
Yes.
So our small group, just being involved in a small group already puts you in a place of community. Going to church on Sunday, joining a group to serve, gets you connected with other people too. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Being intentional every day to think about God and putting Him first.
Right.
Yes,
Still
checks
true.
out. Still true. I think it's it's like I talk about intentionality because, like I mentioned before, I got distracted with the doing thing. So it's all about why you're doing it, right? Your why behind. And if at any time you feel like that's like your focus is on like, well, they need me here, or I have to do this, or even it feels like I'm not enjoying it, and it's distracting you from your relationship, then reevaluate that, right? But it's always, I think with all of these involvements, it's about the community, like we said, and it's about who you're connecting with. And when they're genuine, then there's more reason why you want to be there.
Right.
And it helps your relationship with God and helps you see other people who are also seeking God and who might be struggling too, or have a similar testimony to you.
Yes.
All these different things, but they're there just like you are. We're both
Seeking.
working towards it, seeking God. And so that builds your faith, right?
Definitely.
It makes you just know that they can do it. We can work on this together.
Yes.
And we're all going for the same purpose, right?
Yeah. And I think too, it's important to know that sometimes our faith is lacking. Yeah. And when you go to church and when you're surrounded by community, somebody else's faith can carry you through till you get your own faith back, right?
Yes.
People can pray you through and stand in the gap for you until you can pray for yourself.
Right.
And so being surrounded by these amazing people will help you continue to grow and will allow you a safe space to have moments of weakness and moments of doubt and moments of whatever it is that you're going through.
Yeah.
But these people can help you through. So yeah, just don't do it alone. We just wanted to get our story out there. We just wanted to show you that we're not perfect in any sort of way
at all.
The church is for the imperfect, right?
Yes.
The church is not for perfect people.
No.
I know that some of you have experienced churches where everyone pretends to be perfect. I just want you to know that that's not where you need to be.
No, and that's not the God we serve.
No, that's not the God we serve.
He doesn't expect
No,
perfection.
he does not expect perfection because he made us and he knows that we're incapable of it, okay? We don't do things perfectly still to this day. However, I've learned in this process, right, in this 2-year process, that I am the perfect version of the Francesca that God made me to be, and she is the perfect version of the Yadi that God made her to be. And so we are perfect in that he created us, and we are exactly who we need to be. And there's a purpose for us, and there's life, and there's things for us to do, and there's things for us to enjoy. And although we may make mistakes, we are beautifully and wonderfully made.
Yeah, we need to understand that. Like, we're made in God's image, and so through Christ, we are made perfect.
Yes.
But just know, like, we're human just like anybody else.
Right.
And we have the bad days, and we have the moments where we fail God. But thank God that we have Christ.
Yes.
Who through him we are perfect.
Yes.
And he brings that, and that's why we can come back to him.
Yes. And we are redeemed and we are forgiven.
And all that, so.
Yes. I am Fran.
I'm Yadi.
And we are the Midtown Misfits, and we will see you next week.
See ya.
Bye. All right, I just left that in there for giggles, just because the outro is different and it sounds real funky.
It was our first one.
It was like the first real
like
episode. I don't even know what we said
something.
in the trailer. We probably didn't say bye in the trailer or anything.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah, but I left that in there just because it's funny. But yeah, thank you for listening to this episode. If you listened to the entire series of the Testimony Revisited, we appreciate you. Thank you. We hope that you enjoyed it. We definitely enjoyed it, just looking back and being able to expand and being able to see our growth and the things that we went through. 2021.
I was so excited about 2021.
It sounds forever ago.
And a century ago.
Yes, it does. But yeah, thank you for listening to this. Thank you. It's been, 4 episodes in?
Yeah.
But we've enjoyed it. We hope that you enjoyed it. And as always, for the real outro, this is Fran.
This is Yadi.
We are the Midtown Misfits, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.